Say goodbye to the grocery store and hello to HelloFresh. Healthy ingredients, easy to follow recipes, shipped to your door. Free shipping. In fact, HelloFresh.com, $30 off your first box when you go to HelloFresh.com/Colin. I asked Jimmy Johnson, the all-time great coach, I asked him, I said, what is leadership? And I was talking to him one time, and he said, I don't even know what leadership is. He goes, it's kind of a nebulous term, leadership. And, if you're driving around listening or watching today, and, what defines leadership? Some people are kind of intimidating. Some people reach out. Some people are high volume. Some people are more quiet. Leadership can look like a lot of things. But let me show you what leadership was yesterday. Tom Brady illustrated leadership. And this is why I'm critical of guys in the NBA. I always say the best players in the NBA, we fall in love with talent. Blake Griffin, John Wall, Derrick Rose, Carmelo Anthony. They have no leadership abilities. They're just talented. Chris Paul is a leader. Steph Curry is a leader. Magic Johnson was a leader. How do I define it? I don't know, but I know it when I see it. So Malcolm Butler is the player that Bill Belichick benched, right? He benched him for the Super Bowl, and it didn't necessarily go well, reportedly, in the locker room. Malcolm Butler came out yesterday and released on Instagram this message. He said, listen, man, I've always given everything I have. I play at the high level. I would never do anything to hurt my teammates, including this year's Super Bowl. I never attended any concert. I never missed a curfew. I never participated in any of the ridiculous activities being reported. So Malcolm Butler's a free agent. He wants it to be known, hey, man, I'm a good dude. So it could have just laid right there, okay? Could have just laid there. Tom Brady didn't Tom Brady didn't have to do what he did. But Tom Brady is a leader, responded, and he went to Instagram. Busy guy, probably not in the country today. And he said, love you, Malcolm. You're an incredible player and teammate and a friend, always. That's leadership, because you know what that is? Always. You know what that is? That's a job recommendation.
Yeah.
The whole league is going, what did Malcolm Butler do? And Tom Brady's like, no. This guy's a great guy, and this guy's a great teammate. And you know why that's important? And this goes for governments and businesses. New England, like a lot of businesses in America, is run by rich old guys. Bob Kraft is a rich old guy, and Bill Belichick is a rich old guy. And Tom Brady, in the context of a locker room, is a rich old guy. And in the NFL, those locker rooms are mostly young guys fighting for a spot. And rich old guys have to realize that a lot of the heavy lifting in the NFL is done by the poor young guys that want to be rich old guys. Tom Brady reached down to his teammates and recommended that you NFL teams should sign Malcolm Butler. Because Tom Brady, this is what leaders do, didn't have to do that. But I think to reconcile a little bit of that tension in the locker room, needed to do it, and he did. I was always critical of Derrick Rose when he said, it's not my job to call LeBron if he's a free agent. Damn right it is. Or do you want to be Derrick Rose? How's it work out for you? Chris Paul gets on the phone. Steph got on the phone. Steph recruits other players. LeBron does. So does D. Wade. It is your job, if winning matters. New England's all about rich old dudes. Kraft, Belichick, Brady. But a lot of the lifting in companies and governments and teams in America is by young guys who aren't rich. Young guys who are just hoping they can get to your spot. And the greater that gap and the more separation there is, the poorer the communication, and dynasties fray and fall apart. That is leadership. That was a job recommendation by Tom Brady. Reaching down to a guy he didn't need to, didn't have to, right? Leaving the team. Didn't even play in the Super Bowl much. And like, I got your back. Wish more people would follow suit with that. Christine with the news.
No.
Heard on the news. This is the Herd Line News.
So you think that Josh McDaniels probably didn't take that job ultimately because he had concerns about working with Jim Irsay?
Owner and Andrew Luck's shoulder,
Right.
I think, are a real thing. And by the way, they are a real thing. I mean, I love Andrew Luck, but Christine, I don't No, I saw a story 2 days ago that
Yeah, we have no idea.
he could have another surgery. Who knows?
It's also coming out now that there was reportedly no guarantee about Bill Belichick retiring anytime soon, or that Josh McDaniels would be the successor if and when Belichick does retire. You're not buying that?
Well, I just think, Christine, you don't have to say everything in life. I don't have to spell out. We do a show, by the way. Much of our communication is nonverbal. I don't want to step on you. You do,
Right.
We're saying things to each other without talking. You're
Yes.
like, okay, I'm watching Colin. When does he pause? He talks a lot. He talks fast.
Yes.
So we are actually communicating without actually communicating. If I'm Bob Kraft and you're Josh McDaniels, do I think this was said? I'm going to make you the highest paid coordinator. We value tremendously your talents. And Bill's not going to be here forever. That's not promising anything,
But it says something.
but it's kind of telling you you're the guy.
So do you think it's more likely he stayed because of that, or because that's what I originally thought, and then I saw the whole the rivalries back on comments,
Yeah.
and it made me think that maybe it was a more calculated move by the Patriots to get back at the Colts.
That's interesting. So Bob Kraft, here's another thing, Christy. Bob Kraft is like, what, 75 years old? I do think billionaires hit 70 and they can sense their mortality, and Kraft is sitting there thinking, okay, how much money do I have? Okay, I'm going to overpay Josh McDaniels and stick it to the Colts. Yes, I absolutely believe this is a way to stick it to the team that outed you for Deflategate. No question. But I also think that, like, Jerry Jones post-70's done different things. I think Kraft is looking at it thinking, in my 50s when I bought this team, there's no way I'd pay a coordinator $4 million. But you get to be 78 years old, and you're sitting there thinking, are we better with Josh than without him? Let's just overpay him.
There's a theory that this was all premeditated by the Patriots. They set this whole thing up to put the Colts in a bad position where they thought they had a head coach and then just ripped the rug from right under them.
Where's that theory be?
It's floating around.
Is it?
Yeah. It's not the craziest thing.
I'll throw this at you. How about this? So remember this season, they traded Jacoby Brissett for Philip Dorsett.
Right.
What if Indianapolis, okay, this is not even opinionism. This isn't even as good as this. But what if New England was told certain things about Dorsett, and then he came to the organization and they're like, God, his work ethic isn't as good as they said. He's not, maybe they were like, they kind of hosed us on that quarter. We gave them Brissett, a good kid. They gave us a guy that can't play. And to your point, maybe it's like, okay.
And Deflategate.
And Deflategate. Yeah, I think it's something.
A very calculated move.
Could be.
That's interesting. And it's very maniacal of the Patriots.
Well, if it's true.
If it's true.
Yeah.
I like the story, though. I hope it keeps going and we find more about it. So the Cavs lost to the Magic last night. The Magic, if you didn't hear me, 116-98. And the Cavs were up by 21 points at one point in the game. So they blew a 21-point lead. And this is all around LeBron James saying that he will not waive his no-trade clause this season.
Right.
And he's saying that's because he feels like he owes it to his teammates to finish out the year.
Yeah.
Just got to keep pushing. I mean, you can stay positive. For me, I am staying positive and, just trying to figure out ways we can be better. What units work well for us on the floor, how we can be more productive, how someone can pick someone up when they're struggling. It's been tough because we have, a few guys that's been struggling as of late. You want to try to pick them up and not lose your own individual ability to help the team. So, it's no time to throw shade about our season. We got to continue to be positive and continue to push forward.
They are third.
We got quite a few games left, and if we still serious about the season, then we got to play some good ball at some point.
By the way, they are still third in the East. As bad as they are, they're still third in the East.
It doesn't matter. But continue to stay positive? In what world has LeBron been positive recently?
Everybody's going to talk about LeBron because he's the superstar of the league. By the way, is it me or is Isaiah Thomas a mess?
Well, wouldn't you be too? I mean, the Cavs are a mess.
Yeah, but he's shooting 272 players in the NBA have taken 180 shots.
Okay.
Isaiah Thomas Thomas ranks 270th. He can't shoot anymore.
Well, he's coming off a serious
I know,
injury.
but he's terrible.
But he's also got probably a lot in his head right now. This is not the situation he thought he would be in. The Cavs are all fighting with each other.
Can he just hit a jumper occasionally?
He's worried about Kevin Love, whether he's sick or he's not sick. I just found it very interesting that LeBron was reminding everyone to continue to stay positive as if they had been positive recently. And that brings me to my last story. This is not something positive that LeBron was doing. Apparently, in that meeting, that team meeting where they questioned whether or not Kevin Love was actually sick, LeBron cursed and blew up at executives in that meeting.
Yeah.
And this is because the Cavs have been noticeably pivoting away from LeBron's recommendations. And they used to consult with him and inform him of major roster decisions, but that is no longer happening, which could maybe explain why LeBron's been having some temper tantrums lately. Yeah. He's not getting his way. Well, but why should he get his way if he's not staying?
Well, he's the best player in the world, so they usually get their way.
You know who I know is listening right now and can't wait to talk to you about
Nick Wright.
Yeah, exactly. Hi, Nick.
Christine with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Lie News.
You know, by the way, I should do this before I go to Nick because I have a Tom Brady theory, Christine, that I think you'll like. But I'm going to do it after Nick. I'm going to go Nick first because I have. It's a very interesting. You know, we're talking about. I've had this theory all year that Belichick is kind of setting up the table to bolt this year 50-50. There before the end of the hour, I'm going to throw something at you about this Josh McDaniels move that maybe Tom Brady is the reason this thing all went down and McDaniels backed out. So I'm going to do that in about 10 minutes. Don't go away. I think this really, really is a component to this. Let's go via the Coward Global Satellite Network to Nick Wright, my friend. First things first, every morning, 6:30 on this network. All right, Josh McDaniels. You know, I was saying I'm kind of a college football fan. Today is National Letter of Intent Day, and I said all basically Robert Kraft did is he flipped a recruit. Is that this recruit had pledged to one team, and this is what happens all over America today, and Bob Kraft says, I'm not loopy, that owner is. My quarterback's shoulder's good, theirs isn't. And he flipped him. Should we think McDaniels is a putz, or is it just this is the world we live in? It was a tug-of-war and New England won.
Well, the difference is on National Signing Day, one university typically, some SEC schools notwithstanding, can offer $15 million more than the other. So, listen, Josh McDaniels had a spotty reputation given some of the rules violations, some of the things he did to people and players when he left Denver. He already had a spotty reputation. Doing what he just did to the Colts torches any chance he has of being a head coach in this league in the next 4 or 5 years for any team in the league except for New England. I do not think you make that decision unless you have reason to believe you are going to be the head coach for New England in the next few years. It just doesn't make sense. The idea he all of a sudden got new information on Andrew Luck's shoulder. He's been talking to the Colts for 3 weeks. He had 2 separate interviews. He committed to them Tuesday morning. And then what happened? Tuesday afternoon, Andrew Luck's MRI came in via telegram. It doesn't make sense to me. Like, I think Robert Kraft and Bill Belichick, because they evidently met with him at the stadium when he was there to clean out his office, he, I think, has reason to believe he's going to be the head coach of the Patriots sooner rather than later. That doesn't mean this year, but it probably means in the next 2 years.
So Malcolm Butler says none of this stuff is true. I want to clear my name, and he is a free agent. And Tom Brady, and I kind of like this move. Tom's like, he went out, and Tom Brady knows that Adam Vinatieri and Malcolm Butler won him Super Bowls when he was not on the field, and Tom knows it. And I love Tom going in and saying, love you, brother. You were an awesome teammate. That, to me, is leadership. But let's go back a little bit. Why didn't he play? What do you make of it?
Well, I take Tom Brady's comment on the Instagram even more seriously than you do. I don't think it's just leadership. I think Tom Brady would know at this moment in time if Malcolm Butler, as had been reported loosely by some, was caught with some weed, if he had skipped a team meeting or missed a curfew or been out too late, whatever. Tom Brady would know. If any of those things had happened, and it led to or contributed to the Patriots losing a Super Bowl, I do not believe Tom Brady makes that Instagram comment. So, to me, this is corroboration that what Malcolm Butler put on Instagram is true, which is that he didn't break a team rule. So, what happened? Man, I think Bill Belichick tried to thread a very difficult needle. I think Bill Belichick tried to win the Super Bowl while also accomplishing some other goals. Those goals being reminding everyone that, hey, guess what? There are no sacred cows. You want us a Super Bowl? Great. You're benched for this one. Reminding any potential upcoming free agents, hey, guess what? Malcolm Butler, he was a Super Bowl hero for us. He asked for a big contract with a year left on his deal. See what we did? We signed a player over him in Stephon Gilmore and then benched him for the Super Bowl. And Bill Belichick with another chance. If they win this game, it adds to the genius. And he is a genius. But adds to the genius, wow, and he benched Malcolm Butler in the Super Bowl and they still won. I think he was trying to accomplish all of that while also accomplishing winning the Super Bowl. Colin, I think it cost them the Super Bowl. They needed one stop on third down, any of those third downs to win that game. And this is a tough one for Pats fans to swallow, but I can't see any other logical conclusion. You used a game day activation on him, so he was eligible to play in the football game. Your secondary was getting torched, and you didn't put him in. Keep in mind, the Super Bowl he won for them. He started that game as the 5th corner on the depth chart. Oh. He was inserted mid-second half because the players in front of him had been ineffective. The players in front of him on Sunday were wildly ineffective, and he didn't make it on the field.
Let's shift to LeBron. Now, it's funny because Steve Kerr, by the way, Golden State last night never led against Oklahoma City and got blown out. I could argue it's their worst home game. In a big spot, it's the worst home game. And I thought it was funny. Saturday, Steve Kerr acknowledged, my guys are fried. And I just laughed. I thought, oh, they've been together a whole 19 months. They're fried. LeBron's been the spotlight of the league for 14 years, and we don't let him be fried in January. So when you look at the Cleveland mess right now, we got a Kardashian in the clubhouse. We got a 5'8" guard that can't shoot. We got an owner nobody likes. We got a rookie GM. But most people are saying, LeBron, this is your mess. Who do you blame?
Okay, well, people that are saying, LeBron, this is your mess, simply don't know what they're talking about. LeBron's the only reason the Cleveland Cavaliers are not the Cleveland Browns, and Dan Gilbert has forgotten that. Who do I blame? I blame the guy who has ruined this entire season, and that is the owner, Dan Gilbert, who decided he wanted to play fantasy GM this year. Let me just do a quick little history lesson for the audience. LeBron, when he went back to Cleveland, did not trust Dan Gilbert. He signed a one-year deal. Used that leverage to make sure they signed Tristan Thompson. How did that work out? Oh, he was a key component to them winning the title. He then signed another one-year deal because he did not trust Dan Gilbert. How did that work out? Oh, they ended up winning the title. After winning the title, LeBron says, okay, I'll sign a 2+1, a 2-year deal. How does Dan Gilbert respond? Immediately in the offseason, first offseason where LeBron can't leave. He does not bring back David Griffin. He goes against LeBron's wishes and trades away Kyrie Irving. Finds out he traded away Kyrie Irving for more damaged goods than they had first thought, to the point to where they can void the trade. LeBron tells them to void the trade. He won't do that either. Lets the trade go through. Has done nothing at the trade deadline. And has become buddies with underdog Isaiah Thomas, who has been the single worst player in the NBA this year. That's not opinion. That's just fact.
Yeah, he's lowest ranked. He's the lowest ranked defensive player in the history of the league. It is in the last 25 years. Isaiah Thomas, I believe, is the lowest ranked defensive player currently.
On the bright side, he's shooting 23% from three. So, and by the way, he's inside the locker room after being there for 6 weeks, accusing other players of sports treason. So that's fun as well. But Dan Gilbert always considered himself some underdog, not quite sure why, but he did. And so he and Isaiah Thomas have become buddies. This is what LeBron was always afraid of. I show any trust, any loyalty to Dan Gilbert, and this happens to me. Yet, despite that, LeBron won't abandon ship. I'm not a reporter, Colin, but I sometimes do some reporting. I reported this on First Things First this morning. I now can tell you and your audience. I know for a fact one of the leading NBA title contenders in this league tried to trade for LeBron this week, and LeBron wouldn't waive the no-trade clause. Why? Because he doesn't want to abandon Cleveland mid-year. Somehow people are going to turn that into LeBron being something other than a good guy trying to win a title in Cleveland. I'm not sure the mental gymnastics it will take, but I know some will take it because the answer to all their questions has to be it's LeBron's fault, as opposed to LeBron's been the solution. And one last thing on Dan Gilbert, who wants to keep this sacred Brooklyn pick. Oh my God, the 7th pick of the draft. How do you win titles in this league? You have a top 20 all-time player. That's the way it's been done in the last 40 years for every single title team except the Detroit Pistons. All of them have had a top 20 all-time player. You have one right now. You are squandering your last best chance to win a title so you can end up with the 7th overall pick. Makes a lot of sense. It makes sense to no one, but Dan Gilbert wants to be the NFL's Jerry Jones. He's just left out the win 3 titles in your first decade of ownership part of it.
Nick Wright, it's so good to have a common sense approach. Most of my guests yell and scream at me. You scream with me, and I certainly appreciate it. For the record, in Los Angeles today, it's a chilly 72. What's the weather in New York?
That's what people do in Los Angeles. They always bring up the weather because, you know, there's not, 78 of the world's greatest museums, a place called Central Park. I'm a New York acolyte now, Colin. You're not going to get me on this weather crap. And by the way, it's snowing.
Nick Wright, my buddy. Good seeing you, man.
Yep.
So coming up next, I'm going to throw this at you, Christine. I've got this whole Josh McDaniels thing. I'm going to throw a Brady component into it because I do think there's a lot of stuff going on in New England with Bob Kraft and Belichick. I don't think Belichick's totally happy with everything that's happened, not even yesterday. And I'm going to talk about that coming up. Plus, top of the hour, somebody who knows Belichick better than anybody at any network.
Oh.
Now, the New Year's madness is officially over. It is time to work on your story for 2018. How about your business story, your family story? Make it easier with LegalZoom. They've been helping people like you take care of your dreams and responsibilities for now more than a decade and a half. They're not a law firm. What they do have is resources to keep you on the right path, including advice from their nationwide network of independent attorneys. Whether you want to take your business to a new level or take control of your family's future with their estate plan, okay? They're not billing you by the hour. All prices transparent and given up front. I love that. So just start writing your 2018 story. It's early February. Go to LegalZoom.com right now and put in the promo code Collins, C-O-L-I-N, in the referral box at checkout. LegalZoom essentially is where your life meets legal. LegalZoom.com.
Ronaldo and defending champion Real Madrid